Greetings, my name is Julie, and I'm 42 years old. Reflecting on a particularly difficult chapter of my life, I can pinpoint the exact moment it all began unraveling, when I made the decision to end my marriage to Thomas. It had become painfully clear that we were not meant for each other. Thomas's behavior, childish and immature at times, frayed my nerves to the point where I couldn't bear the thought of spending another day tied to him. What should have been a partnership felt more like a life sentence. But the troubles in our marriage weren't caused solely by Thomas. His mother, Martha, played an equally toxic role in my misery. From day one, she made it clear that I would never measure up to her impossibly high standards for her son. Her relentless criticisms and constant undermining eroded my self-worth, leaving me feeling like an outsider in my own home. I remember countless evenings when I returned home from work, desperate for peace, only to find Thomas completely absorbed in his video games, ignoring both me and our shared responsibilities. Every attempt to talk about my frustrations was met with indifference. "Thomas, could you please help with some chores? I've had a long day," I'd ask, only to be met with his dismissive response, "Later, I'm in the middle of something." This disregard wasn't limited to daily chores. He even forgot our anniversary, dismissing it with an offhand, "It's just a date, we can celebrate later." Another time, I came home to find his overbearing mother at our house without warning. "She's my mom, Julie, she can come whenever she wants, don't be so uptight." He shrugged. These examples were just the surface of the deep issues in our marriage, my needs, my concerns, all ignored while Thomas remained content in his immature world. Family gatherings only made things worse. Martha found joy in belittling me, seizing every opportunity to criticize my appearance, career, and even my cooking. One evening, after I spent hours preparing a meal for the family, I hoped for some appreciation. Instead, she scoffed, "Let's see if it's even edible. I can't trust your cooking." Another time, when I proudly showed off a new dress I had bought for an event, she sneered, "That dress is too revealing for someone your age. You don't want to embarrass yourself, do you?" Her criticisms weren't limited to appearance. When I tried to assert my approach to parenting, she dismissed it outright. "Martha, please don't criticize my parenting. I know what's best for my kids," I told her, to which she replied, "Clearly not, or you wouldn't be making such foolish decisions." I shared my efforts to lead a healthier lifestyle, hoping for some support, and she mocked me, "Oh, please, you're wasting your time, you'll never look as good as me." Every attempt to defend myself or ask her to stop was met with her cold, self-righteous justification, "I'm just telling the truth, dear. People need to know what they're dealing with when it comes to you." The constant belittling and undermining had a profound effect on me. As I grew increasingly disillusioned with my marriage and the toxic influence of Martha, I made the hardest decision of my life. I filed for divorce. I knew I deserved more than the endless emotional turmoil. In court, I laid bare the irreconcilable differences between us, and as the proceedings drew to a close, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. But Martha, my ex-mother-in-law, could hardly hide her glee. She jumped up from her seat, a twisted grin spreading across her face. "I won. I finally won," she declared, as if the end of my marriage was some great personal victory for her. In that moment, a wave of anger surged within me. How could she rejoice in my pain? How could she celebrate the dissolution of my marriage as though it was her triumph? Without thinking, I confronted her. "You've won nothing, Martha, you're pathetic." But rather than flinching under my words, she only laughed. Her laughter was cold, mocking, and it echoed through the courtroom like a cruel reminder of the misery she had caused. It was clear that some people take joy in the misfortune of others, and her satisfaction in my supposed defeat only strengthened my resolve to move on. Walking out of the courtroom, free from the confines of my toxic marriage, I vowed to reclaim my life and my happiness. Martha's gloating only reminded me of the emotional battles I'd fought, and the strength I had found within myself. I would no longer let the cruelty of others define my worth. It was time to embrace the freedom that awaited me, to heal and rebuild, and to walk away from the drama and the pain. With every step, I was determined to rise above the bitterness and carve a new path towards self-love and a brighter future. But fate had one more twist in store. After the divorce, Martha's desire for material gains surfaced once again. She had always coveted my family's heirloom, a rare diamond orchid necklace, passed down through generations and worth millions. Martha had long tried to persuade me to sell it, arguing that it could be used for more practical purposes, but I had always refused. The necklace was a priceless part of my family's legacy, and no amount of money could ever replace its sentimental value. However, after the divorce, Martha believed she had finally secured what she had long desired. She thought that with Thomas's share of the inheritance, she would be entitled to half of the necklace's value. She believed her victory in my divorce meant she would finally possess the treasure she had so desperately coveted. But she was wrong. A month after the divorce, Martha appeared at my door, her face streaked with tears, her voice trembling. "Julie, please, I need to talk to you," she begged. Though I felt a mix of curiosity and reluctant sympathy, I allowed her in. After we sat down, she began to explain, barely able to catch her breath. "My plan, it failed, Julie. I thought I'd finally have what I wanted, but everything has gone wrong." Confused, I asked, "What plan, Martha, and why are you so upset?" She paused, wiping her eyes, then revealed, "I thought that after the divorce, Thomas would get half of the heirloom's value, but he didn't. He's not interested in it. He told me, it's not for sale." Her face fell as she spoke. "I thought I had one, but he shattered all my hopes." A surge of satisfaction ran through me, though I kept my expression neutral. "What exactly did Thomas say, Martha?" I asked, eager to hear the rest of her unraveling plan. Martha wiped her tears away, her voice tinged with disbelief as she confessed, "He told me that he forgot to mention the prenuptial agreement he signed before we got married. It clearly stated that the heirloom, along with everything else you own, is completely off limits." I never stood a chance. I couldn't help but laugh, a sound mixed with both relief and vindication. "Oh, Martha, I've been waiting for this moment. I knew your manipulative schemes would unravel eventually." Her face flushed with a blend of embarrassment and fury. "You knew all along and still let me believe I had one? How could you?" Leaning back in my chair, a sense of triumph washed over me. I met her gaze with a sly smile. "I didn't let you believe anything. You saw what you wanted to see, blinded by your greed. I always knew the truth would come out." As the weight of her failure set in, Martha's tears shifted to frustration. She had gambled and lost, leaving her with nothing. "I can't believe you signed that prenup," Martha muttered, her voice still thick with disbelief. "I was hoping to at least get some of your money after the divorce." I met her words with a calm but firm response. "I signed that prenup exactly for situations like this. I knew someone might try to take what's rightfully mine." "You were never truly about being a good wife, were you? How could you do this?" "This isn't about being a good wife, Martha," I shot back. "It's about protecting myself and my assets from people like you. I had the foresight to secure my future." Martha's desperation only deepened. "But I need the money, Julie. I'm desperate." "That's not my problem, Martha," I replied coldly. "You made your choices. Now, you'll have to live with the consequences. It's time for you to leave my house." She didn't take it well. "You're so cruel, Julie. So selfish." I stood my ground, my voice unwavering. "I'm not the one who tried to deceive and manipulate for personal gain. You reap what you sow, Martha. Now leave." The room grew heavy with the tension of her defeat, her sobs filling the silence. Martha had played her cards, and they had backfired. I had nothing to feel guilty about. As she prepared to leave, she spat out, "Heartless." I didn't hesitate. "Heartless? Reflect on how you treated me throughout my marriage to Thomas. You were the one who was cruel, vindictive, and manipulative." "You're exaggerating, Julie." "I never treated you badly," she protested, her tone defensive. "Really?" I challenged, my voice sharp. "Shall I remind you of how you excluded me from family events, belittled my accomplishments, and spread rumors about me? You seemed to take pleasure in my suffering." "I did no such thing." "You're just trying to paint me as the villain," Martha denied, her voice rising. I took a step closer, my resolve clear. "Enough of your lies. Leave now, or I'll call the police." Her pleas grew desperate. "Please, Julie, just give me some money. I need it." "You have exactly 50 seconds to get off my property," I stated firmly, every word measured. "This is your last chance. You can't do this to me, Julie. I'm family. Family doesn't treat each other the way you treated me." "Good riddance, Martha." Her face twisted in a mix of disbelief and anger as the seconds ticked by. Realizing that her manipulation had failed, she turned and walked toward the door. The tension in the air was thick as she exited, leaving behind a trail of bitterness and regret. The relief I felt was immediate, a weight lifting from my shoulders. I was free, finally free, from both her and the toxic remnants of my past. The next day, I received another unwelcome visitor. "What do you want, Thomas?" I asked, my tone weary. "Julie, I need your help. I'm in a tough spot right now and—" "Save it," I cut him off. "You had no problem abandoning me when it mattered most. How cowardly of you to call, instead of facing me like a man. I thought it would be better this way," Thomas stammered. "Julie, please just hear me out." I crossed my arms, steady and resolute. "All right, Thomas. But first, explain to me why you constantly belittled my ambitions, mocked my dreams, and made me feel like I was never enough." "Enough?" I interrupted. "Do you even remember any of that?" "I don't know what you're talking about, Julie," he replied, his voice defensive. "Sure, we had disagreements, but—" "Disagreements?" I challenged. "I call it emotional abuse. You tried to break me down at every opportunity. Well, guess what? I'm done with it. I deserve better." "Julie, please, I'm sorry for everything," he begged. "I'm in a tough spot right now, and I thought maybe—" I wasn't about to let him off the hook. "It's funny, Thomas. You agreed to that prenup, yet now you're begging. Didn't you know what you were signing? Or did you just assume you could change my mind later?" I didn't fully understand it back then. "I just knew that I loved you," he muttered. "Cut the crap, Thomas," I snapped. "You always had an angle. Now you're out of options." "Julie, I don't know what to say." "Yeah, I figured as much," I replied coldly. "You've always been lost for words when it matters. This is the last time I'll say it. If you contact me again, I will get a restraining order. Do you understand?" "But Julie—" "No, Thomas. It's over. Goodbye." I hung up, immediately deleting his number. As I sank into the comfort of solitude, I felt a sense of finality. The last remnants of my past were gone, and I was finally free. From that moment on, life began anew. I ventured into the world of dating, embraced my newfound independence, and even began writing a memoir about my journey. It was a testament to my strength, how I had survived and thrived despite everything. Though Thomas and Martha would continue to try and tear me down, I had learned to rise above it all. Their failed attempts at discrediting me only fueled my determination to protect my truth. I had found my voice, my power, and my peace. My life was no longer defined by the shadows of my past but by the radiant light of who I had become. Each day, I moved forward with purpose, knowing that I was not just surviving, I was thriving. And in that, I found my greatest victory.